One of the first questions that about 75% of couples that I have the first meeting with, one of the first things they tell me is they want something quick and simple. And I always come back at them with why. And there are three main reasons why most people are asking a celebrant for something quick and simple. And that is, one, they're hoping it will be cheaper. Two, they're worried people will be bored. And three, they are actually really quite anxious about standing up the front for too long. So I'm going to talk about those three main concerns one by one. But first, who am I? My name is Sally, and I'm a celebrant, and I'm based on the north side of Brisbane. But like everyone else in the wedding industry, we will travel anywhere, as will I. Several years into this journey, I threw away the template that we're all given at celebrant school because, well, I don't really believe that the common method works for everybody. So I'm more interested in a method that takes into account your personal circumstances, something that makes you feel comfortable, something that aligns with you without losing the meaning, the wonderful, important meaning of a marriage ceremony, but keeping it entertaining at the same time. So to the reasons. First reason, people ask for something quick and simple because they think it's going to be cheaper. Well, maybe not. A lot of celebrants, all celebrants probably, have different tiers of package. So more expensive, mid-range, cheaper. A lot of their pricing is based on how many people are going to be at the wedding, which doesn't align with the way I work. But I'll tell you why they do it, and I'll illustrate that with a story. Like my very bottom tier is just sit at your kitchen table with two witnesses, takes 4 minutes for a legals only wedding if you just need the paperwork done. And I had a couple booked in to do this. And about 2 weeks before, she said, oh, look, there's a really nice little park a couple of streets away. Could we do it there? I'm like, no worries, love. And then the week before, she said, look, my mum really wants to come, but I've told her, we're not allowed to have guests. And I said, your mum can come, sweetie. It's fine. She doesn't have to hide around the corner. She can come and sit at the picnic table with us. It's not an issue. So on the day, I rock up to this 3.5, 4 minute legals only wedding ceremony, which isn't a ceremony, to find the bride in the big white dress and a flower girl and a photographer and 25 guests. So I knew that 3.5 minutes of legal jargon wasn't going to cut it. And, I'm pretty good on my feet. So I threw to, I winged it. And we ended up with like a 10 or 12-minute ceremony, which included all the basics that people were expecting. And I packed up the paperwork. I'm on my way back to the car, feeling actually pretty pleased with myself. And somebody yelled back at me, is that it? Is that all she gets for her $300? And I took a deep breath and I got in the car and I went home, knowing that I'd walked away from that looking like a crap celebrant. And that is why a lot of celebrants will only do the cheaper, quicker, simpler packages for smaller wedding guests, smaller amount of wedding guests, because they don't want to look like shit. They want, if there's a lot of people, they want to be able to show off their expertise. I get it, but it's not what I do. My packages are priced around how much original writing I'm going to do for you, because whether there's 20 minutes, whether there's 20 people, whether there's 100 people, whether I've written it all from scratch, whether you've done your DIY and chosen from my pre-written ceremonies, I'm going to put my heart and soul into making this day as perfect as it possibly can be for you, whether it's just 6 of us, whether it's 200 of us. That isn't my priority. So my cheaper ceremonies are not necessarily quicker than my fully custom written ceremonies, but they don't have to be, because point 2, my ceremonies are never boring. No ceremony, whether it's a regulation template, church service, same as everything, same as what you've seen on television, or whether it's been personally crafted for you around your personalities. No ceremony should be longer than 20 minutes. That's the maximum amount of time anyone can keep a baby or a toddler under control. It's the maximum amount of time you dare ask a teenager not to be on their phone. It's probably the maximum amount of time Uncle Max can cope with not listening to the radio if it's a Saturday where there's a football match on. Excuse me. So, no ceremony should be longer than about 20 minutes. There's a reason why TED Talks only go for 20 minutes. And it's never going to be boring on my watch, I can assure you of that. But also a quick ceremony, if it's full of boring, old-fashioned formula language, a 10-minute ceremony can still have people checking their watches waiting for cocktail hour. The length of the ceremony isn't what determines whether it's engaging and entertaining or not. What defines that is how much it's about you and how much it reflects your personalities and your interests. And that is what engages with your guests, whether it goes for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 25 minutes. But the third reason people talk about wanting something really quick is because they're anxious. Now, everybody's going to be nervous on their wedding day. I had a bride only a couple of weeks ago, actually, who said she'd been an absolute bundle of nerves getting ready and shaking as she got out of the car. And as soon as she heard my voice, she relaxed. And she really enjoyed her time up the front then. And that's because we'd spent time getting to know each other. We'd had good, long, quality conversations, and she felt really relaxed with me steering the ship for her on the day. And that was such a compliment. I was really chuffed. And I draw a big difference between feeling nervous on your wedding day, which everybody does, and actual social anxiety. So, at the risk of being accused of sharing too much information, which I often am, I am surrounded by neurodiversity in my private life. Actually, my daughter thinks I might have something undiagnosed, but, I was the weird little girl that grew up to be a perfectly normally presenting adult female, as most women do. So, be that as aside, the significant people in my life are either on the autism spectrum or have ADHD. I live with that. So I understand that fixating on small details. I understand procrastination paralysis only too well. And I know that there's a huge difference between genuine social anxiety and just being nervous. So I will help you work within what are your comfort zones, if you like. If you don't want to read long personal vows in public, don't. To make the marriage legal, there is one sentence you have to say out loud on the day, just one sentence. And you don't have to read that. You can do it, repeat after me if you're more comfortable doing it that way. By all means, write beautiful personal vows for your partner, but share them privately the night before, on the wedding night, or even at the signing table. And I'll talk about that in a minute. You can have me read them for you, or you can have me incorporate your own personal vows within the ceremony and deliver them to you like a Q&A. So I can say something and you can respond with I will or I do, or even just squeeze your partner's hand in affirmation if you don't want to talk. There's lots of ways around that sort of thing. If you don't read or have trouble reading, you won't be the first person I've worked with where we've done everything Q&A style. And anything you want me to say, you don't even have to write down. You can send me a voice note on the phone. There's lots of ways we can overcome what you might perceive as differences, and I just perceive as the things that make you special. And I talked about doing your vows at the signing table, because we don't have to do signing the register, 2/3 of the way through the ceremony and come back and finish the ceremony. We can wrap that ceremony up and just you and your two witnesses and me go somewhere privately to do the signing. You can do your vows there. or you can do them as a first look away from the crowd when you first arrive at the venue before we do any walking in and starting of the ceremony. If you don't want to exchange wedding rings during the ceremony, don't. That's not compulsory either. So look, working with me is going to take layers and layers of weight from your shoulders. All the legal paperwork we will do together. I'm not going to leave you on your own to do that. So it'll be right the first time. I'm going to come to your place. You know, unless you live 2 hours away, and then we might think about a neutral territory halfway. But I'm going to come to your place because you're going to feel so much more comfortable and so much more relaxed in your own environment. And if you have a young family, how much easier is that? Yes, there's a little bit of homework if you choose my cheaper package with the DIY workbook, but you'll have plenty of time to do that in. If you're going to have me write everything from scratch for you, I'm not going to send you a 20-page questionnaire to fill out about your relationship. I'm just going to talk to you about it. I'm going to record the conversation so I can engage with you and not be constantly with my head in a book writing notes. And that way I won't miss details. I won't miss the nuances. I won't miss the way you look at each other. And when your eyes well with tears, I'm going to see that and I'm going to feel those feels with you. We can include as many traditional options as feel comfortable for you. But there's so much that we associate with weddings that isn't compulsory, that like the legal bits take, as I said, like 3.5, 4 minutes. Everything else we do on the day is completely up to you, completely up to what feels right for you. And you will get your ceremony script 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, and unless you particularly want a surprise, and I'm pretty sure you don't, you'll know what I'm going to say, and we can rewrite this as many times as you like. Like, I'm not going to be precious about changing what I've written the first time, because my words are not about me. The words I write are about you. And so we can go backwards and forwards until everything feels perfect. So quick and simple. Quick can still be boring. Simple isn't necessarily cheaper. And there's a saying that goes, you can have good, quick, and cheap. And you can pick 2 of those, but you can't have all 3. And I don't know, actually. Like, my cheaper package is still good. And it can be as quick as you need it to be, I suppose. But the whole of your wedding day is going to whiz by so quickly. Think about your ceremony as like the oasis of calm in the middle of a day that probably started at stupid o'clock with hair and makeup and is going to go on until they throw you out of the venue when they have to turn the music down. So don't discount the significance of what we actually say when you are actually getting married. Quick and simple probably isn't the solution to the problem, even though you think it is. So let's talk. I'll pop a link somewhere if you'd like to book just a private chat with me, and I'll link you to my website, which has my pricing and packages on it. And I'll also link up to a Facebook group that I've recently started, which is not like any other Facebook wedding group you may have been in, because we don't have ads. People in that group, vendors in that group, are there to answer your questions, not to say, pick me every time you ask a question. So thank you for listening. I am delighted if I've been some help. And please, pardon me, get in touch if you have any questions.